out. We are live. The community is here, apparently. This is going to look horrifying. We're in a space, but alright. I don't even know how we're going to get started with this. We already got two people. Hey everybody, Spencer here talking about my collection of PlayStation Vita games, and you can just assume the rest just has a lot down there or whatever. So yeah, I have not done a Vita collection update in a really long time, and wanted to just do this live, kind of try it out on my phone. So hopefully it does not go horrifyingly terrible, and if it does, then my lovely wife assistant is off camera and can just laugh at me or just see what else is going on. So first up, I'm just going to go through whatever new games I've gotten since September of last year, which is when I did my last update, and the PlayStation Store debacle, and everything else going around PlayStation Vita, and the PlayStation physical production ending for games. Everything has just been skyrocketing in price, so now more than ever, all the games I'm going to show, I'm sure are worth a horrifying amount of money, and I am just very glad I got all of this kind of picked up before the scare really got bad. I just recently got this game in, Orishika Tainted Bloodlines, or as the Spinal say, Tonighted Bloodlines. And yeah, I haven't even opened this yet. I wanted to save it for this stream. But yeah, it's really funny. I went through kind of a mass order of Asian English and European games that I knew I really wanted. I wasn't looking for stuff like the History Channel game or anything weird like that. I mean, hey, if you want the History Channel game or like football, soccer manager, hey, go for it. But no, I just wanted to get the games that always matter to me, because even though I have a ton of games behind me and I'm going to go through them in a minute, I'm sure many minutes, my whole focus has always been buy games I'm either interested in or I know I want to play. So even if you don't think they're good, or even if they're not your cup of tea, I have games that I want to play, or at least am interested in playing eventually. So stuff like that is really what motivates me, and it always kind of amazes me how many I have. There are very few games I own in my collection that I'm like, whew. Although I did get one recently that like kind of put me to the test for that. So without further ado, let's just get started with where I left off last time. For some hilarious and morbid reason, I forgot all of my Atlus games for Vita. So, well, all of my actually Atlus-developed ones. So, Persona 4 Golden, another horrifying one, but again, no one talks about this system and doesn't talk about that game. Next up, Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight. Japanese Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Japanese Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, and the, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't release this in the West, Catherine Full Body. So yeah, all those games, awesome ports, and just great to have these physically, and also another FU to Atlus for no Catherine in the West, and no physical version of the dancing games in the West. Alright, so next up is kind of a mix-mash of random games I needed and other games I picked up for various reasons. So let's just kind of go one at a time and I'll explain myself. So, Ridge Racer, and I will not be doing the meme because everybody does the meme. So, Ridge Racer is really interesting of why I wanted it. I knew it had a really bad reputation in the community just for being a really bare bones kind of game, and its price had been kind of getting up even before recently. I can only imagine what it is now. But one of the reasons I wanted it outside of, oh, I like Ridge Racer actually, is if you look at the cart, and I'm sure this will not focus, if you look at the cart, it is actually the first game on the production line that they basically went through. So its number is PCSE1. What a collection. That is yeah, a positive and a negative, but I mean, I'm very happy with my collection. So yeah, I picked up this one. Was Ridge Racer? No, this one was just like I found somebody on Macari who was able to give me a better deal price for it. This next one is another racing one that got weirdly rare, and I found at a used thrift store online in new condition for like 20 bucks, which is actually pretty good for what it goes for. Thanks to one of my friends on Vita Island, he was able to send this, well, send a link to me for pickup, and wanted to pick this up, A, because it was like, this is a weird one. Warner Brothers didn't release a lot of games for the Vita, but the reason I want to pick this up is because all of those Lego games I picked up last time were all made by TT Fusion, And for whatever reason, TT Fusion also made Spy Hunter on 3DS and Vita, and I was like, I'll pick it up. How bad could it be? And I played it. It looks good. It plays pretty fun. So it's an interesting one, but definitely not worth what kind of the price it goes for now. Another one that's really weird that I picked up that I just gotta talk about, and is definitely a little bit shameful. So, next up is Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Venus. I had to remember because there's like different Dead or Alives. So this one I picked up. It was the kind of like my last gold rush before the store was officially going to close down. Now we know it's not, obviously, but I wanted to pick this up because I'd meant to get it forever. It was around all the time. It only got an English release in Asia. And I was like, this game is just weird enough that I've got to pick it up, even though it is nothing but like a TNA simulator. I was like, I gotta pick this up. It's so weird. Like, how do I not do this? And I'll say, after picking it up, even used, it was pretty pricey. There's not a lot of copies out there anymore for Vita. It looks really good, and for just like the dumb mini games, it's actually pretty fun to play. Now, next up, one I'm really amazed I was able to get. I was going through my English Asian games that I had not picked up yet, and of course they were all like Gundam related for some reason. So I got the English version of Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme, Extreme versus Force. This one did come out digitally in America and is still available, but this one just never got reprinted. I used to see this on sale all the time online, and had to track down a copy and was barely able to, but fully in English, really was fun to get, and cannot recommend enough. If you like Gundam games, this one is not like the best out there, but it's really fun. It has a ton of different series in there. Now, speaking of one that I cannot believe I never picked up, especially after how much I liked SD Gundam G Generation Genesis, I finally picked up Super Robot Wars X and V. So this one I got used from like Spain, and was, I probably paid a little more than I should have for it, but the guy was great. He was able to send it to me. Game was in great condition even for used. And then I found X, which is the newer one, and that one was brand new with another game I had picked up. Both of these are just like, are you a different type of robot mecha? Strategy RPG, super great, awesome games, totally in English, very fun and playable. Another one on like my weird list of shame that I can't believe I didn't have sooner. We have Minecraft, specifically the PEGI version. So Minecraft is like really common physically, but the majority of copies out there are all the Japanese version. And the Japanese version physically looks like the North American version, which basically just means it has like a white bar up top, and it looks like it would be a digital-only game, even though there is a physical cart for it. So for whatever reason, I kept telling myself, if you're going to get Minecraft, just get the PEGI version, because the cover looks the cleanest, and I was like, okay, pick it up. It's Minecraft. I really like Minecraft. It's fun on the Vita. Even though it doesn't get updated anymore, people are still playing it online, so shout out to people playing Minecraft 2021 on Vita. Next up, this is just a weird one that is just super cheap still. I don't know if it still is actually, but Space Hulk is a Warhammer game, only one physical on the Vita. Not the best game, uses the touchscreen way too much, but the fact that you can play as a Space Marine on the Vita, and it got a physical release in Europe, is just so weird, but I had to get it. It was like $5 from Play Asia or something, really cheap. Next up, we have God Eater 2 Rage Burst. Picked this up because, again, it was like literally one of the last Asian English games I didn't own. I have God Eater 2, but I only have the Japanese version, thanks to Patrick. And I was like, okay, let's get this. I've heard nothing but good things about God Eater. I haven't played since the original God Eater, and it's in English. Super fun. No idea when I'm going to be able to get around to it, but glad I have it. Next up, in our horrifying stack of horrifying things, are two sealed Vita games. So I'll actually get into Orishika really quick, just because that was kind of the whole reason I wanted to do this stream. And yeah, Orishika is a really interesting one of, let's see, do you have the God of War collection for Vita? That's what I'm planning on getting. Yeah, so the God of War collection is really good. I know it at one time was still in stock at Play Asia, like a brand new. They did one last reprint of it. That was developed by Sanzara, the guys who did the Sly Cooper collection. They also did Yeah, they just did a whole bunch of stuff. They did like Sonic Boom, but the port's really, really solid on Vita and just really fun. So next up is Orishika. This is a sequel to a RPG series I don't think we've ever gotten before, and it's really even funny. Like on the back, it says the latest installment of the 15-year-old classic RPG franchise is now on PlayStation Vita. So yeah, I have this, picked it up from the same people I got Super Robot Wars and Final Fantasy X from. It was just one of those things of they were the only place I could find that had it online. This was one I had seen forever and was just kicking my butt for not owning. I was like, I love RPGs. It's an exclusive to the Vita RPG. It's a first-party game, no less, which was crazy. And I was like, just bite the bullet, get it. And that was like one of my last purchases. So Orishika, I played the digital version, is really, really, really fun, and I'm glad to have it physically. And yeah, outside of its typo, is really, really funny just every time I see that. Even though this has been reprinted a million times, it says Tonighted Bloodlines for some god knows reason. Alright, so next up is kind of a trilogy I have to show off. So these are nothing new for me. Final Fantasy X and X-2, some of my favorite PlayStation 2 RPGs of all time. Only was Final Fantasy X on the cart. X-2 was never released physically in America, but in Asia, it was released in English on the cart. Full game, no download, no 10, all 10-2. And the one thing that always really kind of annoyed me about it was the cover looks great, way better than this. Way better than the original one. But I was like, the Japanese cover is just so clean. I was like, I really wish I had gotten it. So, as I have to flip them around, I finally got myself Final Fantasy X, which also got an Asian English release, which makes sense, but is also just kind of funny. This one just comes with 10. There's no code for 10.2. I've actually imported this twice. So I imported it from someone, and the game was fine. It worked. This is just like a dumb collection thing for me. The cover was bent, kind of dirty, and this thing is mostly white. I was like, I bought this not for the game. I bought this because I just wanted it to look nice on my shelf. And the blemishes were just really, really apparent here. So now being able to have both in just brand spanking new condition is really, really nice. I have no real need to open this up. I'm normally not a sealed collector. But yeah, super, super clean. The Asian cover is just so much better. I love when they just have the Amano art for there. So Final Fantasy, one of my favorite series of all time. I had to do that. Next up is a quadrilogy, I think. So even though I have no interest in the series at all and basically only make fun of it for being a ripoff of Dot Hack, I now own every single Vita game for Sword Art Online. So, Sword Art Online Hollow Fragment. Pretty interesting game, and boy, that comment was accurate and hilarious. Hollow Fragment was one that actually was pretty popular when it did come to Vita and got ported to a whole bunch of other systems and stuff like that. And this one, actually most of them are pretty cheap. I think the most I paid for it would have been Excel World versus Sword Art Online. But yeah, they're all pretty solid games. Like the worst one out there is of course the only one we got in America, which was Lost Song. Next up is Sword Art Online Hollow Realization. This one's kind of like a sequel to Hollow Fragment. And then finally was Excel World versus Sword Art Online. It was kind of funny like how all of these are different regional releases of like both from Asia, one from Europe, one from America. I will say, just as a cool little shout out to Europe, the package release for this is just stacked. It came with not only a manual, like a full-on, like, hey, check it out, here's like stuff in their manual, nothing like crazy, but it also had this giant poster. Oh, well, giant by Vita standard, but still, like, the fact that it was in the Vita case to begin with was pretty crazy, because, like, when I got the copy in the mail, I was like, I'm amazed how thick this thing feels for everything that was included there. So, really, really good on Bandai Namco for always doing such a good job with their European releases, but we almost never get as much as Europe does in America. Like, they always have, like, multiple collector's editions for everything. So, really, really cool to have that. Next up we have Gundam Breaker 3 Extreme, not Extreme, Gundam Breaker 3 Break Edition. So Gundam Breaker 3 Break Edition is really special. Is the third, obviously, Gundam Breaker game, which is basically just kind of like a Gunpla model game of like you collect different Gundam pieces, and when you're collecting, mixing, and mashing different pieces, different robots and stuff. But what's really great is the Break Edition has every single piece of DLC on the cart, no download required, and the cover actually looks really cool. So I've played a little bit of 3. I don't own it, but I've had friends have it. Check it out. 1 and 2 are only in Japanese, but fully in English, all of the DLC. It's the best game in the series. You can't go wrong there. And at the time when I ordered it, like PlayAsia had it for like $40, so total steal. Next up, Caligula, otherwise known as the Caligula effect in America. This is the only way to have it physically. The English version is only digital, and the remakes that exist are physical worldwide, but the remake was made in a totally different engine by a totally different team. So really, really cool if you're a fan of Caligula or just an interesting history fan. Super cheap off Amazon Japan. I don't know if it still is, but I think I got my copy for like $4, brand new. Next up, we've got some anime games. So these two are horrifyingly expensive, and maybe worth it, maybe not, depending on who you ask. So we have Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z, the, I guess, kind of movie tie-in for Battle of Gods. This got a physical release in Australia, Asia, and Europe, and it got delisted a couple years ago and is really expensive. And honestly, the biggest reason I wanted it is just because it's an interesting game in general. Well, more just the fact that it's a Dragon Ball Z game, but it's literally the only Dragon Ball Z game on all of Vita, which is funny because Dragon Ball Z has like so many games on so many systems. And next up is J-Stars Victory vs. Plus. J-Stars has a bajillion physical copies out there in Japan, but the English copy was a much smaller run. And the cool thing about J-Stars is it's basically just like the Super Smash Brothers of Shonen Jump, but in a 3D battle arena. I already have it on PS4. I have the terrible looking metal case, which I did a video on forever ago. But yeah, I just wanted to like pick it up because I love, like, what other game is going to have Dragon Ball characters, One Piece characters, Hunter x Hunter, Saint Seiya, Rurouni Kenshin, Naruto, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Fist of the North Star, Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, it's just such a cool little, like, thing to have in time, whereas, like, this one's cool as a Dragon Ball fan, but isn't a great game, whereas this one I legitimately really love and has just such a crazy amount of characters. Alright, next up, some other Amazon Japan quickies that were super cheap. Got Uppers, because Sony didn't want Uppers to release in America, apparently. Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest... Doki Doki Street? Not Doki, Itadaki Street. So yes, love Final Fantasy, obviously, and Dragon Quest. Let's see. Wow, your physical collection is huge. I think I have a nice collection, but on reflection, hey, I always love seeing, like, as soon as I ever go to, like, friends' houses, I love seeing their collection, even if it's, like, just, like, this amount of games. I always just think it's cool whatever people have. I've never understood those collectors who are like, if you don't have as many games as me, like, you barely have a collection. Next up, we have I Am Setsuna, which this is definitely not the name of it in Japan, but I forgot what it was. But yeah, it's I Am Setsuna. Was a Vita game in Japan, but they never localized it in English for the Vita for whatever reason. It, like, runs okay. I know it's not like the best performing port, but it's another really, really cheap one. I love that game, and I love that team, so fun to have that version finally physically. I am talking so much, and I need water desperately bad. How's Genshin going? At least it was smart enough to bring water this time. Alright. Next up in the new games, I like chugged half of that water. Alright, I don't know how I want to do this one. Let's go from newest to oldest. So, I'm sure some of these will be duplicated, but behind me here and here is every Omega Force game on Vita, and actually, if you look, right here is every Omega Force game on PlayStation 4. So I'm going to do a video about that eventually. I don't know when. It's because, like, well, I was, like, waiting for, like, around Strikers or after, and now we have Samurai Warriors 4 coming out in a couple of months, so hard to say. There's always a bajillion Warriors games coming out. But yeah, so Attack on Titan 2, very expensive. Not as expensive as the English versions, but everything Attack on Titan is getting expensive. Cool thing about Attack on Titan 2, never released anywhere outside of Japan. Physical even happened even all the way up until 2018, and this game is awesome. Like, I actually think it runs and looks better on the Vita than even the Switch. Next up, we have another one that only got a release in Japan, Warriors All-Stars. Basically, it is the Dynasty Warriors crossover of Koei Tecmo, and it's just super, super fun. Really, really love it. It's great. Like, I played on PS4 and Vita a whole bunch. Here we have Samurai Warriors Spirit of Sanada, another one that I think that one also skipped Vita digitally in the West. Berserk Warriors. I was like trying to think what the Japanese name was, but no, it's Berserk and the Band of the Hawk in the West. Another one that is still up digitally in America, but I just had to own it physically. Berserk, super awesome. I'm finally getting into the series after years of knowing about it and having a Vita and PS4 version of it. I really, really like it. My only other game experience with Berserk was literally like the Dreamcast game. Next up, we have, oh my god, I always forget this one. It's like Shin Dynasty something. This is Dynasty Warriors God Seekers. It's literally a strategy RPG released physically only in Japan, everywhere. Else it was just digital, and really, really interesting game, but super forgotten by a lot of players out there. Toukiden 2, the last Koei Tecmo game published physically in the West. Really great game, and was developed by the team who did Persona 5 Strikers. So after Strikers, they did a Vita game, and then they made a PS4, Switch, and PC game. Next up, we have Dragon Quest Heroes 2. The first game did not come to the Vita, but the second one did, and is actually like way bigger in scope, so it's kind of crazy. And another one that's, funnily enough, like runs better on Vita than it does on the Switch version. So, next up, Attack on Titan 1. We did get this in English we did get this in English digitally, but never physically. So I bought this brand new for like, let's see, this was like late last year, maybe 20, 25 bucks. I know the price has gone up by considerably now, but like the physical version at the time was even cheaper to buy because the game is 50 bucks and will always be that way on Vita for the Vita English store. All right, next up in the Power Hour of Omega Warriors games. So we have Dynasty Warriors 4 Empires. Sorry, it's Dynasty Warriors 4. Bad job. Samurai Warriors 4 Empires. It is Samurai Warriors 4, but in the Empires version. One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 got a European release thanks to Namco Bandai because they are cool. Samurai Warriors 4-2 got an English Asian release for some reason and is very, very expensive, like pretty much most Asian English releases now, but really, really great to have that physically and in English. Also, a little fun fact no one ever talks about. For whatever reason, if Asian English Koei Tecmo games, they have this little, like, sticker of authenticity, and it's really, really interesting. Samurai Warriors Chronicles 3. This was like a DS series that finally came its way over to Vita. Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, one of the first Asian English games I ever got for the Vita, and was one. I remember when I saw this cover, I was like, this has to be like a fake fan cover, because I was working at GameStop at the time, and I'm like, this game isn't what that's called over there. It doesn't make sense. I was like, oh no, they make English games, but only for like certain Asian territories. Really weird. Toukiden Kiwami, the expanded version of Toukiden. This one is awesome. This is Samurai Warriors 4 with its super duper glossy shiny case, which probably is not coming through very well on the camera, but awesome to have and getting really pricey. I don't know why, but it's a great game. I'm pretty sure I called it Dynasty Warriors 4 again, but it is Samurai Warriors 4. I've been talking a lot so far, and I'm not even halfway done. Alright, next up. Shin Dynasty Warriors Gundam, or Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn, came out physically on PS3 in the West, in certain countries, not America, and no country got the Vita version, only Asia did, and it's really, really great, even though it's only in Japanese, still super, super fun. Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Complete Edition, one of the best Dynasty Warriors games of all time. Everything is on the cart, super, super fun game. A game that is just massive with content, Warriors Orochi 2 Ultimate, otherwise in the West known as Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate, like over 100+ different characters, crazy long story mode, a ton of costumes, ton of characters, really, really awesome. Digital only in the West, but physical, pretty pricey even when I bought it at the time, but it was one I just had to get. Toukiden, the very, very first one. One Piece Pirate Warriors 2. Only got a Vita release in general in Asia and just was PS3 only in the West. And then the one that started it all, Dynasty Warriors Next, which is just the launch Dynasty Warriors, which one day I will complete because it's very long. Oop. Alright, so other new games. Let's see. Let's work our brain backwards. They are all going to be East Asia games, and I'm horrified to think how I'm going to do this. So let's just go by newest to latest. So if anyone doesn't know, Eastasiasoft is the only company still selling Vita games. They're not making Vita games anymore because they were all printed off in February. So somewhere out there in Hong Kong, Eastasiasoft and PlayAsia have like mass hordes of games that we don't know are coming physically. So how boring is this for you to listen to? Alright, I don't know how my wife puts up with this. So, just got this in the mail, literally... Oh, I actually forgot one. Just got this in the mail less than maybe like 5 days ago. This is the one I was referring to. Dungeons and Bombs! Oh my god, this game's really bad. It looks really bad. The music is pretty boring. I like Pigeon Dev. I like Sometimes You, the developer who ported this, but I played this and was like, I love puzzle games and I love the Vita. This just felt like someone kind of ported like a game that was made in a weekend. And I wouldn't say I regret buying it because it's part of a set and I would like to own every Eastasiasoft game and I like supporting indie devs. But yeah, this was one that is like, hey, if you missed out on this, yeah, don't worry too bad. But on the other hand, 88 Heroes, awesome game. Really cool concept. You play as 88 different heroes and everyone has their own little quirk. So really, really fun game, still in stock, so check this out. I'm sure this will get stupidly expensive once it sells out. Next up, we have another awesome game. Yeah, like honestly, most of the Eastasiasoft games are really, really good, just people didn't ever talk about them. We have, by Poppyworks, Super Skull Smash 2 Turbo. Right? Yeah, Super Skull Smash 2 Turbo. Really, really simple pixel art, great soundtrack, performs great. The game is just super great, pick up and play, super fun. It's like on everything. I think it might even be on Switch, but I know it's on PC, PS4, and Vita. Awesome, awesome game, and I think even this one is still in stock. Not a lot of the Eastasiasoft games are, but that one is a huge, huge blast to play. Next up is a game that is only available physically, but will maybe one day be digital, so who knows. That is Synergia, or Synergia? Synergia. So, Synergia is a visual novel, kind of takes place in a cyberpunk aesthetic. I haven't gotten to play too much of it, but it's really, really interesting. It's a cool premise, a great soundtrack, and just a really, really fun, kind of interesting game to play out there. If you're a fan of visual novels, definitely check it out. I know there's ports of it like everywhere, so cool version is the only way to play this physically. Next up, probably more on the meh camp, but I played through it and enjoyed it at least a lot more than Dungeons and Bombs. Lost Cube is very simple platformer. You're picking up one collectible per level. Soundtrack's okay, animations are nice. Was an interesting experience, but not one that you're like gonna play a whole bunch. Hello, new person in the chat. I'm far away from my phone, so if it looks like I'm dumb. Hello, Mark. Hi, Mark. Next up, speaking of games that are TNA related and really shit on, but I liked enough to platinum, Patchy on a roll. I don't know why I forgot that part. So this is literally a pachinko game where you are hitting balls around these two lovely ladies and the balls remove their clothing. The game is not perfect, but it's an interesting concept, especially someone like me who likes gambling games. You don't really get a lot of those. But yeah, really, really fun. Really, really enjoyed a lot. And yeah, just kind of an interesting one. And from a developer who doesn't really get a lot of talk, but I actually really like a lot of Dolores, the developer's games. Next up. Oh my god, I want to do a video on this game so bad because This is like the Cyberpunk 2077 of Vita, but I can't help but love it. So, since a Cyberpunk Ghost Story, this was one of those Kickstarter games that once they announced the Vita version, a whole lot more people I knew were interested in it. And it's an interesting one. It's like a 2D clock tower-like game. Takes place in cyberpunk future, I think either Hong Kong or China. And really cool aesthetic, great soundtrack. The premise is really interesting. Like, you don't see a lot of horror games on Vita. And this one, the developer warned us before it even came out. They're like, hey, just letting you guys know, we put it on Vita. It does not run well. It was like, this was like, hey, we did it. The game's done. It's submitted. We got it physically. We just let it set your standards very low. It like looks like someone. It like looks like someone found a way to rub Vaseline on the pixels, and it looks amazing. It's like when you go into a new area for an Unreal game, and you're waiting for all the pixels and the textures to load, but they never do. I need to like borrow a friend's Vita TV to capture footage of this or something, because it's possibly one of the most technically amazing that it runs at all things of all time. Like, the credits for this alone run at like 5 frames per second, and it's amazing. Next up, on the other end of things that are like amazing only on the Vita, physically only, and really good though, Unmetal. So I just got this like probably a week ago. It is a love letter to the original Metal Gear. It's developed by the same guy who did Unepic, which was kind of like a satiristic take on kind of like 2D side-scrolling fantasy RPGs and stuff like that. This is just like the ultimate parody version of Metal Gear 1, the original top-down Metal Gear. Only on the Vita right now. It's going to be coming to everything, but just because the way production worked, where they had to get the games done last year to get them printed this year, the Vita one is the only one that is out right now, and it is awesome. I highly recommend it. If you are a Metal Gear fan, please check out Unmetal. There might even still be a Steam demo. I know it was part of a festival or whatever, but Unmetal, cannot recommend enough. Really awesome game. Next one, they were roommates in the game Roommates. So Roommates, this is going to be a quick description. It is a life simulator visual novel. This is done by Winterwolves. There's a couple other games that I've picked up by them. Really interesting art. The devs are really awesome. It's cool that it was brought over to the Vita. This is a physical only port by Radalaika Visual Novel Studio. I like it. I haven't played a lot of Roommates, but it's an interesting mix of, it is a visual novel, heavy with the romance themes, and you can kind of play like a life simulator where you choose, hey, I'm going to go to work today, or I'm going to go to class, I'm going to earn money, I'm going to hang out with friends. So I like having a lot of those like features like that, and you just don't get a lot of games like this. And a great soundtrack, actually. Roommates has a really nice soundtrack. Next up, Hubroxia 2, which will probably be known as the last open pre-order Vita game. So Hubroxia 2 is a sequel to the shmup Hubroxia, done by Lilymo Games. Awesome developer. Great game. Super fun. Just great, simple shooter. Could not recommend enough. Next up, by Sometimes You as well, something I enjoyed much more than Bombs and Dungeons, we have My Aunt is a Witch. So this has another name on Steam. Hold on, I have a comment. Hi, Spencer, watching in the UK. It's 3 a.m. Thank you so much to anyone watching. The fact that it's not like me alone and forcing my wife to listen to this is really great. So thank you, all of you watching live. This is more of a thing I'm kind of just recording, expecting if someone's interested, they're going to find later and then watch. It's just recording these by myself afterwards and then editing it is just such a huge pain. And I just want to do something kind of fun on... It's Sunday, right? I have to go to work tomorrow? Oh, that's depressing. But yes, My Aunt is a Witch, visual novel, pretty short. It, like, is a lead-in to a sequel that we're definitely never getting on the system, but it's an interesting game with a fun little premise and nice art. Oh, why did I, like, remind myself it's Sunday? That's really depressing. Alright. So, I have a couple other new games, and then I might call it a thing there. We have, oh, geez, Lord help me. We have Yume Tsutsu Re-After and Remaster. So these are probably like some of the most expensive Vita games you'll ever see. They're still in stock, actually. Like, they are the exact same price as their physical version. This is the sequel to Remaster. This is called Re-After. This is $50, if I'm not mistaken. And then the first game, Remaster, is $65. These are the exact same price as the digital version. You have them all physically in the cart, no patches, no nothing. Full-on art book in this one, CD in this one. Awesome art. If you enjoyed by limited run Nurse Love Addiction or Nurse Love Syndrome, it's made by the same devs, so check it out. I'm sure that one will be horrendously expensive once these sell out. These just got a really large print run, and I think like $65 kind of turns some people off, which I mean, hey, like, look at what other games are going for now that aren't any different at all, so your loss if you want to wait, but hey, I understand at the same time. Next up, we have another physical exclusive. This is Death Tales. This is by Arcade Distillery. They have a couple other games still coming physically, like Skull Pirates and, oh my god, why am I forgetting? War Theater 2 Blood of Winter. Also, I'm forgetting the name. This one is Halloween Forever. Super, super fun pixel platformer by the guys who ported Super Skull Smash 2 Turbo. Really, really great game. This one actually just came to Switch as well and got a huge update last year, so really cool to see that get updated so much. Another one we have is kind of Halloween-related themed. This one is Kawaii Dethu Desu. This is like those kind of like phone games where you either tap left or tap right and see how many enemies you can kind of clear a screen with. Technically, it's a mess in terms of like the performance and loading, but like when you're playing it, it plays enough to work. Super grindy platinum, but interesting enough premise and was fun to kind of have on there, so fun game to have. Really glad it's existing. Another game on the visual novel Power Hour, probably, we have Nicole. This is another one done by Winter Wolves. This is kind of more like, this is done by the same people who did Roommates, more on the horror puzzly end, but definitely not like, oh my gosh, scary, as opposed to like psychologically a little bit more scary. Also, do not worry if you do not have a Vita. I used to say there's like never been a better time to buy a Vita, but like now it's kind of like really expensive. But I mean, hey, look at this little thing. Who doesn't want this sexy system in their life? So if you can afford a Vita, please consider it. Look at this little guy. Look at this little handsome man. There's a slime. He's probably not going to focus, but there's like a slime there. There's a slime here. There's like a slime everywhere. These are great. Alright, so Nicole, there you go. Fun game. Winter Wolves, like, they're not like the best games, but like it's they're like meant to just be kind of like junk food visual novels. Not ones you're going to think about forever, but usually have something enough to like make them memorable. Next up, I think this is still in stock, and this one's crazy because this has a bit of a story to it. So this is Root Double Before Crime After Days Extended Edition. What a name. This one is like $50 and probably scared some people away, but what's crazy about it is like this is a really popular visual novel from Japan, and this only has a physical release from the Eastasiasoft version. It was originally too big for a Vita game. It was over 4 gigs. It's like 4.1 gigs for the download version. And they actually worked with the devs to compress it down enough to get it under 4 gigs without losing any content or kind of like making the quality suffer. So full game, manual, CD, everything on there for a game that is a really popular visual novel. And like, if you even want to buy the game like on Switch right now, $50 is just the price of the game on Switch in the Western world, whereas $50 gets you all of this stuff in a much cooler box art. Next up, we have Task Force Campus. So another shmup. Task Force Campus is interesting. It's a shmup, like a vertical shooter one, but you can't play it in Tate mode, which is like where you hold the console longwise. It's got a couple of like annoyances, but I really love what it's going for. Its soundtrack is fun. It's really fast, but it's another one of those ones that like I beat in one sitting enough to platinum. I didn't regret my time with it. I didn't regret buying it, but it's definitely one of like, okay, these guys are not going to make a really good sequel, but this was the first one we kind of got. But either way, really, really fun game and really, really fun art style. Alrighty, next up, this is another one I cannot believe we got physically. Chasm, released physically. This one was in stock forever. I know it's sold out now, but Chasm was a game that was in development forever, ever. It was a procedural, it still is a procedurally generated Metroidvania, primarily developed by a really small team. And I think this was like celebrating its 5-year anniversary or something. Got a limited release through Eastasiasoft on Vita, limited run on Switch and PS4. But yeah, the fact that this got a physical release made me very happy. Awesome game. I'm so dry. I'm gonna die. All right. Oh my god. Only a couple more left. I'm trying to think. I don't want to like do any duplicates here. So we have the awesome P collection. This is a really simple, looks like a Game Boy style platformer, just green and gray. Plays a P, super basic, fun, very challenging, a ton of levels. Like, this is an example of how you do a really good Pigeon Dev, right? This is a Pigeon Dev game. Yeah, Pigeon Dev, ported by Sometimes You. Really fun. Great to have both games on one cartridge. It does only have one platinum, which is a little bit of a bummer, but hey. Spencer, a couple more left, but also so many behind me. Yeah, we're not going to be talking about all of them today. I don't have the mental energy for that. Oh my gosh, I do have the mental energy for this. This game is awesome, and I just dropped it, so that shows how awesome it is. Gambare Super Strikers is crazy. This is XCOM meets FIFA. So you are playing a RPG version of soccer where every action there's a probability meter, and the best part about it is like this is like a really hard game, but it's like if you want to get into it, there is so much to this game. Really like kind of like crazy by Ratalaika, who just did a ton of ports. A lot of them are physically on there, but like for every now and then they did a game that was really crazy, and or at least ported a game. This was originally made by Rise, I forget the developer's name. It's another small team, but awesome game. If you enjoy RPGs and if you have a fondness for soccer or XCOM, really great. Check it out if you can. Next up, I'm going to do the last 3 of these, because I don't think I've done any of the others. Yes, so we have Guard Duty. Guard Duty is... what's the best way to describe it? It is a point-and-click adventure novel that takes place in a post-apocalyptic future and also a medieval setting. Really interesting. My gosh. Really interesting premise. Another like surprisingly good Ratalaika game, and just not one that people really talk a lot about, but really great. And another one that's like fully voice acted. It's like crazy they got it to run it all. Next up, we have Demon's Tier Plus. This is awesome. It is a twin-stick dungeon traveling game. So, like, the best way to describe this so that 5 people on the internet can understand it. Imagine if Jack Bros was D&D related, but was still a twin-stick shooter and had a lot more RPG elements. That is Demon's Tier Plus. A really great game. Ported by Cowcat. Did an awesome job. And last one we're going to talk about, this is by the guys who also did... oh my gosh, what are we talking about? 88 Heroes, the one I talked about like 9 years ago. So, Xenocrisis is a game that was made by Bitmap Bureau, and they have ported it to PC, Dreamcast, Switch, PS4, Vita, Evercade, MVC, AC, Neo Geo consoles, Genesis, maybe Super Nintendo. It's been ported to like everything. TJ, thank you so much for saying you love Xenocrisis. Yeah, this game is awesome. It is basically mix Aliens with Smash TV. Runs like a dream. Play it on whatever you can. It is just such an awesome game, and is so much fun to play. Love it to death. That is basically it. In terms of new stuff I've gotten, the only thing that's really going to be coming out and adding to my collection, unless I find anything kind of crazy, is going to be East Asia games and games that I import from Japan. Everything else that I want in English, I already have shown off in other videos. I can take questions now and actually look at my phone. I was kind of just trying to plow through that. I cannot believe that was 45 minutes. I've just been standing here for 45 minutes like a big old dope. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or games you want to see or question, because like a question I get a lot is like, what's a good it's like, what's a good Vita game to get for blah blah blah. Japan is not actually releasing Vita games still. Japan and other parts of Asia and the rest of the world had to stop production of physical games after February this year. Their last game actually released in Japan was, oh, it was either some random visual novel or like the sequel to a dungeon crawler that Nippon Ichi Software made that I've totally forgot the name of. Freedom Wars, that's a great question. Freedom Wars is right here. Is amazing. It is super cheap. Is there any way to play Crisis Core on Vita? Legally, no. If you hack your Vita and are adventurous, there you go. Yeah, Freedom Wars is awesome. Is one of my favorite hunter games on the system. I love Toukinen. I love... Why am I blanking on it if you love it so much? Soul Sacrifice. Soul Sacrifice is another awesome one. But yeah, Freedom Wars, super awesome game. Released everywhere. Probably cheap still. Hopefully. I don't know. But yeah, so... that is it. If you guys want like any recommendations, you can ask, or ask if I have anything really dumb and expensive, and I probably still have it. Why does Sony hate the Vita? I think they don't hate the Vita. I think they just don't have anyone who works on the system anymore that wants to support it in a way that makes financial sense to them. I know at the time, and even through a lot of its like kind of more quiet times, people just didn't really talk about it. Like people like Gio Corsi are really, really big fans of it. How many games in total do you have now? So I haven't counted it on the stream because that sounded like a really terrible idea. But what was I going to say? Kitty Misa. Oh, I was wondering why you were mentioning that. I hadn't seen your name, but yeah, Kitty. So that explains why you mentioned my mountain of Muso games here, because these are all the Omega Force games. But yeah, so tons and tons and tons of stuff are still out there. I saw one asking about... oh, hold on. Do you think there will be a Vita 2? I want there to be a Vita successor. I just can't believe it with the current Sony we have. Like, I know it's not like all doom and gloom, but the way the world is right now, I just don't think that they're confident enough to put something out there again that's not just a tried and true gonna make money. Like, if they're not confident enough to make a Days Gone 2, why would they do a Vita 2? You know what I mean? So it sucks. The Switch obviously is still like literally next to me over here. There's like a bajillion Switch games that I'm sure one day I'll do a collection thing of. But yeah, I just can't see it being a thing, let alone being anything that happens relatively soon. Someone mentioned platformers. So, not a lot of like 3D platformers, but I talked about this in my last video. The like Lego games are really solid. Like, there's a couple that are pretty trash, but like Lego is pretty fun and there's a lot of them. I've only made my way through about like a third of them. I'm trying to platinum every single one because I'm a sad man and have no life. Could there be a successor for primarily portable screen? I think there could be, but then at the same time, we're in such a weird moment right now where... oh, Valkyrie Drive. Oh, okay, so let me answer this real quick. Valkyrie Drive, yes. Valkyrie Drive is really fun. If you like games like Senran Kagura or stuff like that, Valkyrie Drive is very, very fun. I don't think it's too expensive. It got a physical release a bajillion times. God Eater 2 is fun, pretty cheap, and really, really good. I think if you still buy it digitally in the West, it gives you God Eater 1 and 2 back-to-back, so that's a really, really good deal. And, like, hours and hours of content. Ragnarok Odyssey is not a bad game. I see Katie saying no, it's not a good game. Ragnarok Odyssey is fine at launch. When you compare it to every other Hunter game on the system where there were tons, it's like, it doesn't hold up as much. Weird question. How long is the battery compared to an iPhone? No, so what's really funny is I remember people saying the Vita's battery was like bad at launch, but like my Vita holds a longer charge even on my launch system than like my 3DS does. So I can get about, let's see, out of like a full work day of me playing it, I can normally get about like 8 to 10 hours on my Vita of just constant play. And like throughout a whole week, I maybe have to charge my Vita like maybe once a week at most. What happened to music, by the way? Let's see what comes on. It's gonna be funny if your phone died. Alright, I needed a water break. I'm sorry. I'm dying slowly. My Vita battery holds up very long. Yeah, everything about it, I mean, knock on wood. Jesus, please. Please, Vita battery, don't explode. I always enjoyed it more than the 3DS and the PSP considerably. Like, PSP battery, outside of it being apparently a nuke, I feel like I can never get more than like 6 hours out of my PSP, but I played all my games physically on that. So, trying to think if there's anything kind of interesting to show that I might not have before, but, what was that? Oh, it's because sticking your AirPods out. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I hearing? Oh, here's a weird one, because I don't think I've done the story yet. And I did a clickbait in the thumbnail. Probably a lot of people, if you collect Vita, either own this and bless your stars, or see this and cower at the price. AW Phoenix Fiesta was literally the first game I ever imported. Do you have God of War Ascension? I do have God of War Ascension. God of War Ascension, man, what a weird game. I don't hate it, but, like, what a really, like, just forgettable game. Like, that whole story is just out of your brain as soon as you beat it. Grand Kingdom is an awesome game. A great Spike Chunsoft game, and an awesome, awesome, awesome game. But yeah, Asterix Wars Phoenix Festa, I remember it got announced at Anime Expo, the English release, and I was like, this game looks really great. It's just like a normal, I think it might even be made by Tamsoft, but yeah, it's just like a normal arena beat-em-up kind of fighter game based off an anime license. Oh my gosh, Tokyo Xanadu, yes. Anything Falcom. I have Ys, let's see, I have Ys Origins, the Asian version, the limited run version, the collector's edition version. I have Ys Memories of Celceta and Ys 8. But yeah, so this one has just gotten really, really stupidly priced. I just remember, like, I went back and I found my email of ordering this from Asia, and I thought it was so funny of, like, I think I bought this brand new before shipping for like $35, and now looking for it goes for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a game that I feel like no one ever really talks about unless you're trying to collect all of them. But yeah, that's kind of, that is kind of it in terms of like crazy ones. I have some other recommendations I could do, but yeah, if you guys have any like other questions or just like weird, what do you have? Oh, memory cards. So yeah, memory cards I've been pretty lucky with. I started... Oh, it's funny too. If you actually look, you can't see in the video. I have Scott next to all my Scott Pilgrim books. Boy, the fact that you could tell that was Scott Pilgrim with like just this, that's actually kind of impressive. You saw like maybe 10% of Volume 6's cover. That's really, really impressive. Yeah, all my mangas like right here. Can any respected... Oh, can I have any repeated games you have? So, even though I have, what was the total number again? 469. Yeah, so even though I have, like, 469, any duplicate I have is for a reason. So, let's look at a game that I have, like, 3 covers of. So, I have 3 versions of Stranger's Wrath, and this one's only in a protection case because this is the special PSX cover that I think only had like 1,000. But yeah, so like I have Oddworld again and again. It's because they're different covers, and that's the only reason I'll ever buy multiple games is for different covers and stuff, just because I've never been of the type to understand owning multiple of the same game. And outside of different covers, certain regional releases, kind of like with Final Fantasy, that's where like I'll get into it, but like if it's literally just the North American version multiple times or stuff like that, I don't have any repeated stuff like that. And anytime I do, I always try to sell them for as cheap as possible while staying at market price, just because like I have no reason to have multiple games. Like I think the idea of like, hey, if you want to have a bajillion, like I have a friend out there on Twitter and stuff, he's got like the most duplicates I've ever seen, and I'm sure he's gonna make a mint on of all of it. Yeah, but yeah, you bring up a great point. Danganronpa, all of those incredibly pricey. They were pricey even when I was like getting into the series, which is kind of funny. But saying nothing about them now. Um, but yeah, man, just like so many great games. Someone was mentioning like good RPGs. Good RPGs to like limit. Let me like think and like pick a couple up that aren't like stupidly rare. So great RPGs that aren't Persona. As I pop my knees like a 90-year-old grandma. Here are two suggestions that I'm pretty sure are still in stock. Demon Gaze 1 and Demon Gaze 2 are awesome. These were done by Experience, and they are a developer who literally just makes nothing but SMT clones, and they're pretty good most of the time. Was Valkyria Chronicles 3 released in the US? No, Valkyria Chronicles 3 was only ever released in Asia, which is really stupid. Just subbed. Hey, thanks so much for subscribing, especially for this garbage stream of me talking on a Sunday. I really, really appreciate it. But yeah, so Demon Gaze, awesome games, pretty cheap. Great first-person kind of dungeon crawling RPGs. Weird ones that like are RPGs but don't really like kind of count. We have Deception and Deception the Nightmare Princess. So Deception is like Home Alone with BDSM and hilarity. It's really, really weird. This one only got, this kind of like its 1.5 sequel. This only got an English release in Asia. This did get an English release in America. One of my few copies I have that are hole punched. If you ever see a copy that's hole punched, by the way, that basically just means that a Sony employee bought it from Sony. So it's the exact same game, but when these were printed from Sony, copies that go to their employees and stuff or are sold to them just get hole punched. Basically as a way not to resell it. Obviously they get resold all the time. While we're talking about RPGs, and also Nippon Ichi, so Disgaea 3 and Disgaea 4, complete editions, all the DLC is on them, I'm pretty sure. I think all the DLC is on them. Either way, huge strategy RPG games, as I'm whistling over here. Another one, this one's kind of like, this sucks to kind of recommend it, because I'm sure one is a lot harder to get than the other, but they're just really, really fun games and great RPGs. Digimon Cyber Sleuth and Digimon Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory are two of like my favorite RPGs on the system, and nobody talks about them. I mean, like obviously Digimon fans talk about them, but not a lot of like casual people play them. Like I have the series on Vita, PS4, Switch. I don't know why I forgot the Switch version existed apparently. But yeah, I love these games. The art style is amazing. It's done by the artist who did the Devil Survivor games as well as the Durarara series. Both games, amazing soundtracks, amazing battle systems. And gosh dang it, Digimon just doesn't get enough love. Next up, Digimon kind of related. This one's funny because it only released in Asia for whatever reason. Digimon, was it Next World or New World? Next Order is basically, yeah, Digimon World Next Order. It's kind of like a remake of the first one and is a interesting game. It's interesting. It's an interesting Digimon game. I can see why it didn't like come out in Vita in the West, but fun game. The Digimon World games were always like a little bit more simmy than I would kind of want for them. But I mean, kind of like goes with Dragon Ball. Is like it's not the best game ever, but I just appreciate that it's there. Oh, Shiren the Wanderer is a great one. Yeah, Shiren the Wanderer. If you want a dungeon crawling RPG, also done by Spike Chunsoft, and will just lose hours of your life to it. Sharing the Wanderer is a really, really great game. We were talking about visual novels earlier. I'm surprised you have some Japanese games. I have to have Japanese games. Otherwise, I'm going to be missing out on delicious, delicious Caligula. Because Atlus West hates us, and I can't get this beauty otherwise. And also, God bless Japan, all their Vita stuff is still super, super cheap. So that makes collecting really, really helpful. You know what's actually a fun thing I haven't shown off in a while is something I talk about way too frequently. But that is steelbooks, but not really steelbooks. So here we have a steelbook-like. This is a 10, but it's really, really interesting at the very least because it was actually shaped as a Vita game. This is for Teslagrad. This got a retail release years ago, and then right as the Vita was dying in America, the company was finally like, oh yeah, hey, let's do that American version we never talked about and reprint it in Europe. So it had a big like collector's box thing, but different cover. It was kind of fun like that, but it is in this 10. And I don't love the 10. The 10's kind of whatever, but it was an interesting enough release that I felt like I wanted to pick up. I don't even think that one's very rare at all, but just kind of an interesting piece of history. Any like Vita game that has like a weird story to it, I'm a huge, huge fan of. There was another one though that I kind of wanted to talk about. Oh yes, this monstrosity. The Assassin's Creed 3 Liberations Steelbook, which is a thick boy. This bad boy is meant to hold the case in the case and barely holds the case. That was a Best Buy Canada exclusive. And, yeah, it didn't do its job great. Not that rare, but is just weird enough as a piece of Steelbook history that I have to own. Just for, like, Steelbook comparison's sake, here is it compared to a Switch Steelbook. Here's our thin boy. Here's our thickums boy. And just to be a total show-off dick, I guess. Then a normal Steelbook comparison. So here we got Days Gone next to this. Yeah, the thick Steelbook case design I've always thought is truly, truly horrifying. But of course, then I still bought it because I have a problem. Alright, so I'm going to look up some fighting games for you guys, and then I'll probably end this because I've got to drink and sit down. I've been doing this for like an hour. But to all of you who have been watching this, thank you so much. I asked because I can't imagine fighting games are easy to play on the Vita. Oh my gosh, no way! Fighting games from launch have been great on Vita. The Vita launched with BlazBlue, Chrono Phantasm Extend. I think Chrono Phantasm, or no, Continuum Shift Extend, maybe. But yeah, the Vita games are, like 2D fighting games on Vita were super huge all the way up until Under Night. Ooh. Oh my god. Alright, we're out of water, so we're gonna look for some Vita fighting games and then call this a night. Woo! What are some good Vita fighting games to fight with your children? Hubba, hubba, hubba. It'd be really funny if after I talked about it, then I couldn't find any. Alright, here's like a handful, and they're all kind of close alphabetically. So, we have, as we were talking about before, the very first 2D fighting game on Vita. This was a launch game, BlazBlue Continuum Shift Extend. Plays amazingly. Arc System Works used to port a ton of their stuff on Vita. And really, really sucked because then when they were doing port work for other companies, they weren't asking for Vita ports. So it's like, I remember at the time when Arena and Ultimax for Persona 4 came out and it didn't come to Vita, I was like, But yeah, so we got Chrono Phantasm as well, and then its extended sequel, Chrono Phantasm Extend. Some other great games that are not just Arc System Work games. We have Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax, and this is basically... It is a Sega anime visual novel fighting game crossover. It's got characters from Durarara, it's got characters from Valkyria Chronicles, it's got characters from like everything and very few similarities. It's I think has Sword Art Online characters too. Yeah, it's got characters from Sword Art Online. Absolutely insane game. It got a sequel called Ignition, which never came out into the States, which is weird because like Sega does a ton of stuff, but I loved Dengeki Bunko Climax. And also, fun little thing, because you don't get a lot of manuals in the West for Vita. Oh man, and of course we got right here, the Bay, and the bigger Bay. Baby, check out this fighting game manual that they did. So, it's got every character's roster as the manual. So let's just go through this because I picked up this monstrosity. So, and I will be butchering all their names. From Valkyria Chronicles, we have Selvaria. Oh my god, I forgot I had Akira from Virtual Fighter 5. Rentaro from Black Bullet. You got Yukina from Strike the Blood. Oh my god, I got a fucking Ring of Adam from this. Toradora's Taigi, or Taiga, is in this. That is awesome. Miyuki from the Irregular at Magic High School. God forbid. We have Kitaro from Sword Art Online. Tomoka from Rokubu. Oh, Jesus. Kuriyuki Hime from Excel World. We've got Shizuo from Durarara. We've got Kirino from Orimo. We've got a certain magical index, Mikoto. Another Sword Art Online with Asuna. And we have Shana from no Shana. But yeah, what a crazy fighting game this was to come out in America. And then the fact that we never got its sequel is like just the most painful thing. But that's another one. Like it's a fighting game. I'll import that at some time. I know Fighting Climax Ignition is not stupidly expensive, but the fact that anyone remembers Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax, and the fact that it actually got like a special release in the West, shout out to you. Another last fighting game is Arcana Heart 3 Love Max 5 stars, which I think still got like another update. Like I think it just got like a stealth update for 6 stars, but yeah, so Arcana Heart 3, pretty fun fighting game. It is sad we never got the sequel. Yeah, it is super sad. Like, and for like no reason too. It's like they had all the rights to it the first time. They could have just extended it. But to be fair, I also know Dengeki Bunko sold terribly in the West, so it's also not that surprising. Last little one. This is a fun one of like, I love when games like get retail releases that people have no idea about. So this is Adventure Time. I'm gonna try to remember the full name. Let's see, Adventure Time, Adventure Time, Secret of the Nameless Kingdom, or something weird like that. So this was developed by WayForward, the guys who did River City Girl, Shantae, a bunch of other Adventure Time games. Basically, it's Link to the Past meets Adventure Time. Really, really fun game. Got delisted. The publisher lost the rights to it, put it on sale for like 99 cents for like 3 months before, and sold super well. That's how I learned about this. But after it got delisted, this company called Lightweight ended up releasing it in Japan, maybe like 2016 or 2017, like really late, and it got a physical release. It's only in Japanese, but it's the only Adventure Time game on Vita, and it's physical, so cool that it exists, even though it's only in Japanese. But I mean, I have the English one digitally, so kind of like my Caligula situation, but a little bit different. That should be it, though. That is a lot of Vita games, and oh my gosh, I have no shame. But yeah, thank you all for watching this for over an hour if you did. If you watched it live, thank you for watching it live and asking me questions. Thank you if you liked the Vita, if you subscribed to watch this, or if you just stumbled across it through YouTube algorithm magic. Thank you so much. Please consider subscribing. I have some Vita reviews coming up because there are new Vita games in 2021. No need to ever be sorry about any other questions. If I missed any, which I'm sure I missed a ton, or anyone has a Vita question for me, drop it in the comments below. I'll gladly get to as many as possible. I just have to stop talking eventually or my throat's going to implode. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Guys, girls, everybody out there, have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy the Vitas if you have it. And let's end tonight with... Mary, give me a letter. P. We're going to end tonight with the letter P. And that stands for... not penis. Aww. Here we go. Well, we'll do this terrible monstrosity in the stream. Here's a great visual novel that not a lot of people ever talk about. Punchline! Based off the anime, I think? Punchline? I've actually only ever played the visual novel. Punchline is a visual novel written or either supervised by... oh my gosh. The guy who did the Zero Escape series worked on this, and it is a series about a guy who, if he sees a pair of panties, the world explodes or ends or something. But yes, this exists. This got a release physically by some miracle, and not only did it get a physical release, it got... I'm so glad you picked the letter P, Mary. It got... this collector's edition, which is how we will be ending this video. Not with an unboxing, because that sounds truly horrifying. Here's a lot of butts, so let's get demonetized with that. Here's everyone's butts once you open the book. Now this is why we're opening it, because we have no shame. Oh, it still smells plasticky. And I'm glad no one can see me getting ready for this. Oh, it smells so bad. Alright, let's, yep, here we go. This is how we're ending it. Goodbye, everybody. This is a thing that I paid money for, and I have no shame. Oh my gosh. Alright. Huh?
Show your eyes.
This is my eye. Oh, wait, here. These my eyes?
Yeah.
Okay, these are my eyes. So you have to, like, show my mouth? But yeah. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. I regret nothing. I have a pair of women's underwear in here, too, so it could have been worse. Goodbye. Oh, God, how do I end this? Do I just peck? Peck the screen? Thank God no one's watching this. Goodbye.
You should pick the screen.
Goodbye.